Hi everyone, Daryl Lucas here. Been a while since I've had a chance to do any videos, but I felt I had to do one because to give my thoughts on the recent goings-on with the revival at Asbury University in Kentucky. Now, as many of my longtime friends and followers know, I'm an odd duck for a liberal Democrat. I'm a charismatic Christian. Spirit-filled Christian, as some people call us. For a while there, it was hard for me to find a church where I didn't have to bite my tongue so hard it bled because a lot of charismatics and Pentecostals are hardcore Republican. But fortunately, the church where I've attended for the last that's going on 14 years is split almost down the middle between Democrats and Republicans, and I've never gotten a lot of any grief for how I wear my liberalism on my sleeve. So many of you also know that back in my college days at Carolina, I got chewed up and spit out by an abusive and borderline cultish campus ministry. So naturally, when I first heard about this revival in Asbury, I was skeptical, but I've been hearing a few good things about it. I was particularly heartened by the fact that the students and faculty there have deliberately tried to keep big name preachers and political muckety-mucks out. Tucker Carlson, for instance, wanted to come up there, and they told him no. So I was a little bit unnerved when I learned when a Methodist pastor in Texas shared a post about how the worship teams people are actually go around and pick and actually select people to lead the worship sessions that have been going on for several days, and that I was a little uncomfortable about it because one of the things that got on my last nerve with that campus ministry that burned me was how they told us when to raise our hands, shout, clap, the whole 9 yards, and practically ordered us to cheer after every song. The way they spun it, was that if you could yell and scream at Keener Stadium or the Dean Dome, you could do the same for God. Now, anybody who's watched a Carolina basketball or football game knows that they usually don't need to tell you when to cheer. I still remember my first orientation during the freshman convocation, and that as we sung the alma mater "Hark the Sound" at the end, and people already had their hands in position to start clapping along. They started playing the fight song at the. Tell me how that's manufactured. But I digress. So when I first saw about how people were being picked to lead the worship teams, I was a little concerned. For one, what if some of the people there aren't used to that kind of worship? From what little I know about Asbury, it's more rooted in Wesleyan holiness tradition where the kind of people raising their hands, shouting, whatnot is an alien concept to a lot of these people. Plus, what the Holy Spirit's speaking to them in a different way. The presence of the Holy Spirit should never, ever be forced. And I was a little more concerned when a Facebook friend of mine who was a volunteer worship leader at the International House of Prayer in Kansas City recalled that some of the things they do are almost a carbon copy of what she saw in there, and the incredibly problematic theology from that movement. Now that put me firmly back on the fence about whether to fully embrace this move in Asbury. Like I said, I'm heartened to see that they're trying to keep it from being hijacked by the right, and as near as I can determine, it's not a repeat of what happened at the Brownsville Revival in Pensacola, Florida. For those who don't know, that revival is the product of a pastor on a power trip. For the better part of 2 years, the pastor down there, John Kilpatrick, was talking up revival and even threatened to leave if they didn't, quote-unquote, accept the revival. Anybody who's well-grounded in charismatic and Pentecostal theology knows that this is baloney. When God moves, it doesn't matter who's in the pulpit. I know quite a few people came out of Brownsville who either went to or still go to my church here in Charlotte. And as far as I can tell, God moved in spite of Kilpatrick and the guy who conducted the services down there for so many years, Steve Hill. So, so given that and my past experience, I'm not ready to full-heartedly embrace Asbury just yet. I'd like to see what the fruit is more before I can make a call on it. So on one hand, some signs are encouraging, but enough concerns me that I'm not entirely sold on it. I'm just gonna have to wait and see. That's all.